Oh my goodness, New York City, man. Let me tell you something. When they are at Madison Square Garden, WWE likes to go all out for these shows. And tonight was not just a Madison Square Garden show. Tonight was the final Raw of John Cena's active career. Tonight was the final Raw that you would get to see John Cena in the ring. Because I'm so excited I bumped the fucking camera. I knocked the camera up. But look at this shit. You believe this? Man, John Cena. One last time in the ring on Monday Night Raw tonight. This was a very newsworthy, very eventful, very fun episode of Raw. There was a lot going on. Honestly, one of the best Raws all year. Coming off one of the worst SmackDowns all year last week. Actually, the week before last. So the difference between the two shows at the moment, it is quite striking, I must say. But John Cena was all about him tonight. The new Intercontinental Champion, he came out. What were they going to do with him here on the show tonight? What would he do at Survivor Series? Because, so we're only a couple of weeks away, 2.5 weeks away, whatever it is, from Survivor Series. And there really was a big question mark as to what John Cena would be doing on that show. We know he's going to be in San Diego. He's always been advertised for that show. Would they just simply run back a rematch between him and Dominic Mysterio from last week? Would they have him maybe in his first ever War Games match? That was also a very distinct possibility. Well, now we have our answer as far as what John Cena is going to be doing on that show. And in fact, he will be wrestling Dominic Mysterio in a rematch for the Intercontinental Championship. So his match at that show is now set. Tonight was also about the Last Time Is Now tournament. Who will wrestle John Cena December 13th in his final match on Saturday night's main event? And we had 2 more matches in the tournament tonight. Solo Sikoa was wrestling a mystery man. And the other match is the one that the one thing on the show tonight, really more than anything else, that I was most looking forward to was Gunther, who we have not seen since SummerSlam, taking on Javon Evans. And now that we know there's no more mystery people in the tournament, we already know all the names in the Last Time Is Now tournament. Javon Evans was the only representative from NXT in this tournament, which I will say is quite disappointing. You know, now that we can see who's in the tournament and kind of get a sense of where things are going, I will say they could have done a better job with this tournament. But this was the match I was most looking forward to in the entire thing. I was hoping we might get it later on in the tournament, give Javon a few wins on his way to the match with Gunther, but they gave it to us tonight. It did not disappoint. As far as who Solo Sikoa stepped into the ring with, we had a return tonight of a former WWE star, very much in the same vein of what we saw on SmackDown Friday night, where LA Knight had a mystery opponent, and out came Matt Cardona, only he wasn't Matt Cardona, he was Zack Ryder, because that's the last time people would have seen him on WWE television. He was Zack Ryder. Well, tonight, it was Nick Nemeth. Only he didn't come out as Nick Nemeth. He came out as Dolph Ziggler, because that is how the WWE audience would remember him. That's the last time we saw him. He was Dolph Ziggler on TV. So he was the big surprise there. But you talk about surprises. They loaded up for bear with the surprises on this show tonight, even though they weren't all surprised. I mean, we kind of knew at least some of the names that were likely going to be on the show tonight. But they loaded this show up with a lot of big names, and the biggest among them, Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar. And there's only one reason they would be on the show tonight, and that is if they are going to be part of the War Games match, which in fact they are. That now rounds out the teams because it was 4-on-4 coming into tonight. Now we know what the field is going to be. Now we know it's 5-on-5. Roman Reigns on the babyface side, Brock Lesnar as a favorite of Paul Heyman. He is the 5th man on Team Vision. I guess we can call it Team Vision, even though there's only 2 members technically of the Vision that are on this team. But they saved those 2 returns for the very end of the show. We had a women's Intercontinental Championship match tonight. You talk about women's War Games. Becky Lynch was defending her title tonight against Maxxine Dupri. They've been feuding now for a few months. Maxxine came into this show with 2 wins over Becky Lynch, none of which were by submission or any sort of decisive win, but wins nonetheless. And so tonight, the championship was on the line. The question is, would they have Maxxine beat her for a 3rd time? Would this be the night that AJ Lee would make her return? Would AJ Lee factor into the finish of the match, which is what I've been talking about? Because we have not seen AJ Lee since WrestlePalooza, which was almost 2 months ago. And not only did we get the return of AJ Lee tonight, it directly led into the finish of the match, which was Maxxine Dupri pinning Becky Lynch to become the new Women's Intercontinental Champion. Yes, Maxxine Dupri won a singles title in this company before Chad Gable did. I really don't know what to say to that, but here we are. This is the world we live in. But good for her. I mean, she was as shocked as anybody. I think her parents were there. This was like a big moment for her, her first championship win, and it comes in Madison Square Garden, and it's going to directly now, I believe, feed into Women's War Games and who fills out those last 2 spots, because Women's War Games at the moment is still 4-on-4. It will not be for much longer. We saw the backstage segment later in the show where Rhea Ripley wanted to have a conversation with AJ Lee. We're going to get AJ on one side. We're going to get Becky Lynch on the other. And that's going to be your Women's War Games field, 5-on-5. Team AJ, Team Becky. So now we know, right? Whatever questions we had that were still lingering as far as War Games coming into tonight, even though the women's stuff is not official yet, but now we know where things are headed as far as that goes. The other thing also about Women's War Games, I say that the fields are complete at 5-on-5 because Charlotte Flair was back on the show tonight, coming to the rescue, really more so of her friend, Alexa Bliss, not so much Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, but they certainly left you with the impression that she was going to end up joining on the babyface side, even after the angle they just did on Friday night. They've already negated the angle that they did on SmackDown on Friday night. They rushed right into this. Charlotte, she was right back on TV tonight. I don't even know what the point, frankly, of what we saw on Friday was, if they were just going to rush right into it. But again, it looks like we have our 5-on-5 field. And for all the problems that I've talked about in recent weeks when it comes to SmackDown, and there are a lot of them, and on top of that, the show's going to 3 hours, as if that's going to make it any better. SmackDown's got a lot of problems, but I will say, you watch a show like the one that we got tonight, and part of the problem with SmackDown is you watch a loaded episode of Raw like this, and you see what they gave us on tonight's show. And I get it was the Garden, and it was a special night for Cena, but we got John Cena on the show tonight, right? He hasn't been on SmackDown. His last SmackDown was what, months ago, right? 2 months ago. So we got John Cena on the show. We had the returns of Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar and AJ Lee, and even Dolph Ziggler made an appearance here on the show. What is left for Friday? Like, what's left for Friday? They get the scraps. That show could use all the help it can get. It didn't do SmackDown this week any favors by loading up this Raw show the way that they did. But I got to give a shout out to Brian. Shout out to Brian Bird. I chuckled when he tweeted this to me, but when the show was over, he did send me this. He goes, John Cena, Brock Lesnar, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, AJ Lee, Rey Mysterio, Nikki Bella. He goes, man, this Raw from 2013 was lit. And I'm like, you know what? He's kind of got a point. It does feel in some way like we have fallen into a time warp, and we've gone back by about 12 or 13 years with all the names we saw on the show tonight. But it did make for a fun show. We'll talk about the whole thing here. This is your Raw on Netflix review. It is Monday night. It is November 17th, 2025, not 2013, even though it might feel like it. I am the Solomonster. It strikes me now that I say that date out loud, November 17th. It was it 30? No, it was 29. 29 years ago tonight, on this very day, at Madison Square Garden, Psycho Sid beat Shawn Michaels at Madison Square Garden to win the WWF Championship. In that very building that they ran tonight. How about that? Believe it or not, that's actually one of my favorite matches at Survivor Series. Best match of Sid's career. Shawn Michaels and Sid at MSG. That was when the crowd turned on Shawn Michaels that night. And they were very happy to see Sid win the title for the first time. And that's right, Rock. That's right, Rock made his debut on the Survivor Series that night as well. He was the sole survivor for his team. So there you go. That was like an afterthought. That guy, The Rock. Whatever happened to that Rocky Maivia guy? That's right. I was thinking, like, did anything else of note happen on that show? I'm like, nah, I don't think so. Yes, the fucking Rock debuted that night. Anyway, like and subscribe. Super chats are open, and I will be reading through all of your messages. Asuka will join me. I will be reading through all of your messages, as we always do here on the stream. It's the least I can do for you, so get them on in. We do have a... Alex, thank you very much. Activating Bree mode. Bree was not on the show. Nikki was on the show, but not Bree. I'm okay with Nikki. We don't need Nikki and Bree. We do have a bonus goal going in the chat. Again, I had to level up on that one. If you want to get RSPW Rewind, we may or may not hit it, but it's up there. It's in the chat if you want to go ahead and partake. But I will be reading all of your messages in just a little bit. So let's get into this here. That's right. Undertaker came down like Batman. One of the silliest Undertaker entrances, honestly, of his entire career. That was the teardrop Undertaker, where he had the teardrop on his cheek. I'm pretty sure that had the symbolism there. I think a friend of his may have passed away. I don't know who it was. I don't know what the circumstances were, because I always wondered about that. Like, what was with the fucking teardrop? Because, like, after a year, it was gone. But it was just weird. And there was never any explanation for it. But yes, he descended from the ceiling as Batman that night. Thankfully, he never did that again. Now, last week in Boston, they opened the show with Triple H in the ring, because he knew it was all sold out. And he goes, man, I got to make sure I'm a part of this. Maybe he was marking out. He wanted to be a part of John Cena's last segment in Boston. No Triple H tonight to give us a whole speech before John Cena came out. They went on the air, and John Cena was out to the ring to open the show here in New York City. That was Boston. This was NYC. Got a massive reaction here. His final entrance as an active performer here at MSG. So, of course, you had to expect that it was going to be a big reaction here. And even when he got to the ring and he called for the music to be stopped, they kept cheering and chanting his name. And then Alicia Taylor did her introduction for him. We got chants of thank you, Cena. He told him the champ is here. Said MSG has allowed him to perform here for 23 years. Tonight is the last time that they can talk together on Monday Night Raw. And, you know, when he said that, it really hit me that this was his last television appearance. I mean, not just his last Raw appearance, but the last time that he will come to the ring like he did tonight for a segment on one of the weekly shows to talk to us and cut a promo. Because the only two dates left are Survivor Series and then Saturday night's main event. And that's it. You know, and I'm sure we'll see Cena back on TV at some point, but it'll just be like a hi, how are you? You know, kind of thing. So, yeah, this was pretty historic in multiple ways tonight. But he goes, it's bittersweet for some, but an important moment for him. And he wants to take a second. Well, I mean, he could take all the time he needs because he didn't get any further in this promo before he was interrupted by Dominic Mysterio. Made his way out to the ring. No cheers for Dom in New York. I don't care how popular he's been. These segments with Cena, he has gotten, it's like old school Dominic Mysterio. Nothing but heat. So he comes down to the ring. It says last week, Cena was handed a title shot, just like he's been handed everything else. Meanwhile, he has fought for everything he has. So he wants a rematch for his Intercontinental title. Cena said, you came to the right building. He's not backing down on his last Monday Night Raw. Tonight, it will be John Cena against Dominic Mysterio for the Intercontinental Championship right here, right now. And Dom looked at him and Dom smirked and said, no. So they already did things Cena's way. He had management on his side. He had his hometown on his side. So now they're going to do it his way. And the fans greeted him with chants of shut the fuck up. He says, you want to fight now or not? And Dom said, no. Survivor Series. San Diego, my hometown. Or my backyard. Same shit. Cena told him, no problem. I accept. Here's where he has a problem, though. He says he told the world that he would have a match on his last Raw, and he sees an opponent right in the middle of the ring. So for tonight, let's forget about this. He said, let's forget about the championship. This will be for San Diego, but tonight, it could be you and me, one-on-one here on Monday Night Raw. And he goes, do you feel lucky, Punk? And I thought that was going to be a cue. They were going to do a tag team match with Cena and Punk as tag team partners. Now, after this, the Judgment Day's music hit, and Finn Balor walks out with JD McDonough. Make their way to the ring. Cena took his shirt off, and he was ready for a fight, but it was 3-on-1, and Dom told him, you're not going to get your final match on Raw, but what you are going to get is your ass beat. And they pounced on him. It's 3-on-1. Who's going to come out? Sheamus. Sheamus runs down to the ring to make the save, but it was still 3-on-2 until Rey Mysterio came out to even things up, and the Judgment Day got dumped out of the ring. Cena said, we're going to have a 6-man tag team match right here, right now. It's going to be the Judgment Day against Sheamus, Rey Mysterio, and John Cena. He said, get a referee out here, and they went to commercial. So a few things to unpack here. We are getting a rematch with Cena and Dom, and I'm okay with that. You know, I was talking about this the other day, and I'm like, man, I thought they were going to do an open challenge. Right? We didn't know what Cena's final match was going to be. I said, I can see it being an open challenge. The other idea that I floated, and this was something I tweeted, I think, last week, I said, if they're not going to go the way of the open challenge or have him put the belt on the line, watch for a tag team match. Because I could see John Cena and Rey Mysterio as tag team partners against Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio, which is what we got tonight, only they made it a 6-man tag. So instead of Cena and Rey, it was Cena, Rey, and Sheamus. And I have no issue with them adding Sheamus because that will very likely be the last time that we see John Cena and Sheamus work together, because I got news for you. Sheamus ain't winning that tournament. So I'm totally fine with them getting Cena and Sheamus back in the ring together, even if it's on the same side. That was very cool to see. And then you have JD McDonough in there basically as the fall guy. I mean, let's be honest. So that was the match that they made. Cena and Dom in San Diego, I like it just because it's a way to get the championship off of him before they go to Saturday night's main event. There is no need for him to defend that championship in his last match, especially if it's going to be against the man that I think we all know who it's going to be. Now that we know all the names in the tournament, you know, you don't have an Obafemi in the tournament, and Javon Evans isn't winning the tournament. Someone like that would benefit from wrestling John Cena next month and actually taking the title and then getting a run with it on the main roster to like start them out. Now that we know it's not going to be anybody like that, there's no fucking point to keeping that championship on him. He has to drop it at Survivor Series. That's it. Plain and simple. And he's going to drop it back to Dom in San Diego. Now, it could have been somebody else. Sure. He beat Dom last week. It didn't hurt Dom to be in the ring with John Cena, right? That's not a bad spot for him to be in. And now they're going to have him pay it back, and he's going to do the honors for Dom at Survivor Series. And that's going to be huge for Dominic Mysterio. And yes, he's probably not going to win the belt back clean. I would be shocked, frankly, if he does. But he's going to get his win back, very likely. He's going to get the title back. And we won't have to worry about the Intercontinental Championship having anything to do with John Cena's final match, because it should not be about that. It should be about John Cena and whoever his opponent is going to be. And adding a championship to the mix, frankly, only makes things more predictable. Because think about it. It could go either way. John Cena could win. They might want him to get the triumphant, heroic win in his final match, even though if it were up to him, he would probably, lose. Or he might lose. And he probably should lose. But if you throw the championship in there, it just makes it that much more predictable. So for a lot of different reasons, it's good that they're doing this. Whether or not you think it should be Dom, I mean, you can pick nits when it comes to that. But Dom is the future. Like, there are certain guys that you can look at right now on the WWE roster, okay, on the men's side, and it's less than 5. But there are certain names, and there's 3 of them, really, that, actually 4. I think there's 4 of them, that stand out in particular. You've got Obafemi is going to be a massive deal. Unless Triple H just completely fucks him up, Obafemi is going to be a major star for them on the main roster in 2026. So you've got Obafemi. You've got Braun Breaker, right? You've got Jacob Fatu, and you've got Dominic Mysterio. Those four right there. And frankly, after what we've seen from him this year, you could throw Javon Evans in there too, but he's still, I mean, look, he'll be on the main roster soon, and it should be, but he's also 21 years old, right? So when we talk about the future and the here and now, Javon Evans can be the here and now in terms of elevating him from NXT to the main roster. Javon Evans, though, is not going to be in the main event mix right now. That's where, you know, a Braun Breaker or a Dom who's got many more years on him on the main roster. Those guys will make it there before Javon does. But these 4 or 5 guys, this is the future of the company right here. And I haven't even mentioned any of the women. But this is the future. And Dom's going to be a massive babyface at some point, probably next year. We're probably not going to have to wait that much longer. So if Cena's going to put anybody over, it should be someone like Dominic Mysterio. Right? If you're being honest with yourself, you agree. You know that that's true, that Dom's going to be a big deal for them going forward. So anyway, this match here, it started during the commercial break. Seb says, did LA Knight do anything on the show?
I am the learning tree. Thanks, guys.
I have a feeling that guy right there is going to be his WrestleMania opponent. Speaking of LA Knight. No, LA Knight did not do anything on the show. LA Knight, he won his match against Matt Cardona on Friday.
Gunther. Jerry Lawler loves Gunther the Magnificent. All hail Gunther.
Yes. On a night where Gunther was back, it's only appropriate that Gunther is back here on the stream. Hey, Bobby's World. Getting us started on that goal with the $50 drop. Hey, Bobby, thank you. No, but I was saying LA Knight, he got a win over Zack Ryder on Friday. So he is technically still in this tournament. He's not going to win, but he is in the tournament. He was not on Raw tonight, though. So this 6-man tag started during the commercial break. What happened was the Judgment Day, they teased bailing before they even got into the ring. So the babyfaces said, fuck this. They left the ring and they followed them into the aisleway and jumped them and brought them back to the ring. And it was mostly Sheamus beating up Dom until JD McDonough pulled the rope down. Sheamus went tumbling out to the floor. So when they came back, the heels had control over Sheamus here in this match. So they got heat on him for a long time before he got the hot tag to Ray. This was Ray's first match here on Raw in about 7 months. I think it was that Friday right before WrestleMania when he got hurt. He had surgery. So this was it. This was his first time back in the ring. And he looked good. You know, again, he didn't have to wrestle the whole match by himself because it was a 6-man. But the spots he did and everything, he was in there taking bumps and flying around. So, you know, he looked great. He got Balor in position for the 619. Dom, though, tripped him up when he hit the ropes. Balor slid Ray out of the ring under the bottom rope, and he bounced off the floor outside hard. And then we bounced into another commercial break at that point. Dom did the Three Amigos into a brainbuster on his father during the break before Balor tagged back in. Balor and McDonough, they were trying for a double team move. It ended with McDonough getting crotched on the top rope. Ray got a hot tag to John Cena. We got the shoulder tackles to JD, and we got the You Can't See Me into the 5-knuckle shuffle. Cena went for an attitude adjustment. McDonough landed on his feet, kind of. Took Cena down with a headbutt. Then the Judgment Day, they all hit their finishes on Cena. We had JD McDonough fly off the top rope with a moonsault. We had Finn Balor fly off the top rope with a coup de grace. And we had Dirty Dom fly off with a frog splash. Then they all dogpiled on top of Cena for the pin. Sheamus and Ray, they got in and they broke up the pin at the last possible second. Ray got Dom in position for a 619. Balor, though, and McDonough pulled him out to safety. So, at that point, the baby faces, they all pulled the heels up onto the apron, and we got a triple 10 beats. We got 30 beats to the Judgment Day. Then in the ring, they all got the three heels down, and they did a triple You Can't See Me into what I guess would be a 15-knuckle shuffle. Guess that's what it would be, right? So Ray hit a double 619 to Dom and McDonough, who were in the ropes. Sheamus hit Balor with a brogue kick. This was all rapid fire, this finishing sequence. And Cena finished off McDonough with an attitude adjustment to win it for Team Cena. It was actually a hell of a finishing sequence. All action here. Crowd ate it up. And all the baby faces celebrated together. Sheamus had a big smile on his face. Cena looked happy. Ray was in there. Fans were happy. They left the ring, and when they got to the stage, because they had the minimalist setup to fit more people into Madison Square Garden. They had a legit sellout tonight. It was over 18,000 people. And it was the stage where you can see over the stage, and they have more fans behind, which I actually love. That was one of the things, back in the day when you had the giant Titantron, like the Raw is War days, you had that whole section behind the giant screen where you just couldn't fit people. You had to have all those empty seats. So like back then, imagine how many more tickets they could have sold if they actually had those seats open and available. And so now it's like, now we're going to sell as many of these seats as we possibly can, and we'll have just the set itself is an LED screen. We don't need a giant Titantron. So Cena's looking up at all the fans that are behind the set, and he tells Sheamus and Ray, he's like, you could hear him, not hear him, but you could see him, read lips here. And he's telling them, like, stay, right? And then he's waiting, and he's like, all right, turn around. So they all turn around together and pose for the fans, and Cena looks into the camera, and he goes, Monday Night Raw, that's all she wrote. He goes, love you, thank you. And he left with Sheamus's arm around his neck. Looked like two brothers walking off into the sunset here. Hey, you know what? Sheamus is, he's not too far off either. He's been around for a while, and he's pretty beat up. So he hasn't said anything about retiring in the near future. Like AJ Styles has said he's retiring next year. But Sheamus is getting pretty close to the big 5-0. And, in the next few years, who knows? We may be having a similar situation where Sheamus is ready to hang it up. And he can still go at a high level. John Cena said he's getting out now because he doesn't want to be that guy who overstays his welcome. And people look at him and go, man, he's washed. He just can't do it anymore. So as far as the match is concerned, I would have, if I had a preference, I would have preferred that they did, even if just for one night, and he dropped it tonight. Although these fans really didn't want to see Cena lose, but like an Intercontinental title open challenge, in the spirit of the old US title open challenge that he did. And Cena's always coming out and talking about giving opportunities to people. As I was given an opportunity, I'm going to give somebody else an opportunity. And then have him in there with maybe someone that he's not wrestled before. Maybe there's another, young member of that NXT roster or someone like that. Like in a perfect world scenario, would have been an important singles match as his final Raw match. They elected not to do that because they're saving the Dominic match for Survivor Series. So we got a 6-man tag. And you know what? That's fine. It was a crowd-pleasing match. It got Cena in the ring one last time with some big names like Ray and Sheamus. It was the feel-good match, And Cena beating the Judgment Day makes sense because he's going to lose at Survivor Series. Like for John Cena to go to Survivor Series and win again against Dominic Mysterio would be the antithesis of everything that John Cena talks about representing, Like I had no issue with him winning last week. If he goes in there and wins again at Survivor Series, that's very different. Like if you're going to run this match back, it's for one reason and one reason only, because he's going to do the honors for Dom and drop the belt back to him. Otherwise, there is no point. There is no point in running that match back if Cena is going to win again. So he won tonight, and when he goes to San Diego, he's going to lose. Though there was nothing wrong with what they did here. It was a fun final few minutes here. And believe me, that win at Survivor Series will mean a lot more for Dom than a meaningless win in a 6-man tag would have been tonight. And we go backstage.
With a tear in my eye.
With a tear in my eye. Hey, dude here, 73. Yeah, Roderick says Joe Hendry would have gotten a massive pop. I thought that we were going to get Joe Hendry on this show. I thought we were going to get Joe Hendry in this tournament. And they went with a different TNA star instead, although Joe Hendry is technically no longer a TNA star. Officially, he's a WWE star now. If there was actually one surprise on the show, it was who we didn't see, which was Joe Hendry, who's in town, by the way, because he's wrestling on NXT tomorrow night at the theater at Madison Square Garden. Actually teaming with Thea Hale to take on Chelsea Green and Ethan Page for I believe, the AAA Mixed Tag Team titles. So he'll be there tomorrow night, but he wasn't there tonight. We go to the back, and we had the two general managers, Nick Aldis, Adam Pearce, and they're talking about, and Aldis is very unhappy about what happened at the end of SmackDown on Friday. When Drew McIntyre came back, he just suspended this fucking guy. And he came back, and the loophole was that Paul Heyman had the right, as part of War Games, to choose any star from any brand. And, I guess technically could choose someone who was suspended. That's how Drew McIntyre got into War Games. So they were talking about what happened. Paul Heyman enters the room, and he said that if my Drew McIntyre pick pissed you off, wait until you see what I have in store for our final team member in War Games. And he had the War Games contract binder with him, and he handed it to them, and he walked off laughing. So the GMs open it up, and they look at the contract, and we can't see who the name is, but they know who it is. And you could just read their faces. They were not very happy about it. And Adam Pearce says, well, this is going to be fun. I think we already knew who that name was going to be, but they milked it. They were saving it for the end of the show. During the break, Jackie Redmond was at ringside, and she interviewed Andrew Schultz, who is a comedian and a podcast, supposedly, and a podcaster. He's been there before. He got pretty well booed by the fans here in New York. Not like Dominic Mysterio booed, but he got fucking booed. So he stands up and he's talking about how great it is to be here. He's like, let's have another round of applause here for John Cena and his last night. And they're like, boo. They don't like this fucking guy. So then he starts calling Dom a Nepo baby bitch. And we couldn't see that Judgment Day is still at ringside. So Dom saunters over and he says some stuff, and the two of them end up shoving each other. Dom gives him a shove and he shoves him back. But that brought Cam Skattebo of the New York Giants, who was sitting right there in the front row next to Andrew Schultz. Cam Skattebo stands up. The New York Giants running back who just suffered a gruesome injury only a few weeks ago, the very end of October. He's someone who, like, I'm not a big Giants fan. My brother is. I have some friends who are big Giants fans. I can understand their suffering. As a Mets fan, I can understand. If you're a Mets fan or a Jets fan or a Giants fan, you're kind of all in the same boat. Giants are not doing very well these days. But there's a lot of optimism around Cam Skattebo. He's very likable and his future with the franchise. And so anyway, he suffers this gruesome injury. He dislocated his ankle. He ruptured some sort of ligament. I think he fractured his fibula. I think it was like really, really, like the ankle bent in a way it wasn't supposed to. And he had to undergo emergency surgery. So J.D. McDonough gets up in Skattebo's face, and Skattebo gave him a shove. And so a shoving match broke out between the Judgment Day and a bunch of New York Giants players, because he wasn't the only one. A bunch of New York Giants players in the front row, including Skattebo, who got shoved. And I'm watching this, and I'm actually stunned. I'm stunned. Like, if I am New York Giants management and I'm watching this, like, I'm sweating bullets watching this right now, although I'm probably not sweating any more than I would any given Sunday, the way that fucking team plays. But I was a little surprised that he got physical at all here in this segment. So they all had to be separated, and that was the end of that. So anyway, after this, when they came back, Jackie Redmond was in the ring to tell us that she is going to have a special interview momentarily with the Women's World Champion. But first, let's go back to last week, and they replay what happened when Nikki Bella turned heel on Stephanie Vicaire and attacked her and left her laying. So then Jackie introduces Stephanie out to the ring, and the women's world champion did not make it beyond the stage because as soon as she came out, she gets ambushed from behind by Nikki Bella, who grabs her and throws her into the entrance set, into the LED screen. And then down goes Stephanie. And now we're going to hear from Nikki. Nikki Bella's going to cut a promo here. She says she didn't come back to cheer from the sidelines and be Stephanie's sidekick. Well, that would be an interesting storyline. She didn't come back to be Stephanie's sidekick. She came back to take what's hers, which is the entire division. And she thanks Mamacita for reminding her who the hell she is. Stephanie will give her a title shot and will bow down. Everything about this was bad. Nikki's promo was very flat. And honestly, they should have had her do something else or something more to Stephanie. Like the worst part about this, she attacks Stephanie from behind. Nothing particularly vicious. And she just throws her like one throw into the screen. And Stephanie, the women's world champion and crown jewel champion, is down on the ground and has to just lay there and listen to this promo and sell and sell. And I'm like, she's still down. How is she not back up fighting back here? It just made her look so weak because Nikki didn't really do much to her, but she's laying on the fucking ground. It's like, what are we doing here? So I just thought it made Stephanie look silly. And then we found out later on the match is going to take place at Survivor Series. So Stephanie defends her women's world championship against Nikki Bella in San Diego. I know you're all very excited. What does that bring the total to? We have Cena and Dom. We have 2 War Games matches. Now we know Stephanie and Nikki. That's 4. Are we to assume that we're going to get the finals of the John Cena tournament on the PLE? Or are they going to do it on Raw the following night? Because I think that should be a match at Survivor Series, for being honest. I think you do the match at Survivor Series. And after Cena's match, you have the winner of the tournament, Gunther, come out. And maybe we have, even if it's from a distance, but we have like a little face-off between Cena and whoever his final opponent is going to be. Like a little teaser. Because we're not getting John Cena on television again between now and his last match. Like tonight was it. So if we're going to have any sort of stare down or face-to-face or confrontation with Cena and his opponent, it's going to have to take place at Survivor Series. So I would think that you would do, like maybe you open with women's War Games, then maybe you do the finals of the Cena tournament. And then after that, you could do the women's match, and then you could do the Cena match. Or you could do the Cena match and then the women's match as the come down. And then you close with men's War Games. I would think that would be the way. That's how I would format the show. But I don't think they've specified where exactly the finals are taking place. Survivor Series, though, is where it should be. And there's your 5 matches right there. That gives you 5. Triple H loves his 5 matches. Backstage, Bayley and Lyra Valkyria, they were walking and talking. And Bayley spotted someone off camera who he couldn't see. She goes, hold on a second. And she walks over, and it's the Kabuki Warriors. See, these are like 2K25 cutscenes in the back. Where, not even a cutscene, like your character is in the back, and people are just randomly standing around. That's what this was. Because apparently Asuka and Kairi were just standing there. I don't even know if they were talking to each other. They were waiting for somebody to come over and talk to them. So Bayley comes over. And Asuka says, look, we need 5 people for War Games. And Bayley can be on their team. She could forgive the past. Let's be partners. And Bayley can't believe that Asuka would have the audacity to even ask her to be partners. And she turns her down flat. Asuka storms off. Kairi then does the you can't see me taunt to Bayley. And then, of course, you hear Asuka in the background. And off goes, my goodness, off goes Kairi. And Lyra was very impressed with Asuka, or very impressed with Bayley turning Asuka down. And Bayley just basically said, she called her an idiot and said, let's go. And that was the end of that. So Bayley and Lyra, they will not be a part of Women's War Games. I don't know what's next for them, but that was their only segment on the show here tonight. Up next was our first of two matches in the John Cena Last Time Is Now tournament with Solo Sikoa on his way to the ring with Tala Tonga. I know you're all very disappointed. There was no JC Mateo. There was no Tama Tonga. There was no Great Tonga Loa on the show tonight. But we got Tala Tonga, who he stood there. He didn't get involved. He didn't really do anything. He just stood there and looked menacing. But it was Solo Sikoa against a mystery opponent. That mystery opponent was Dolph Ziggler, who got a big pop. He got a big reaction from the crowd here at Madison Square Garden. I got to tell you, though, maybe it was just a scheduling thing. I don't know. But you would think, well, I don't know. I mean, you would think that if you were going to have Cardona and Nemeth in this tournament, why not save Cardona for Madison Square Garden? Like, I was at Survivor Series in Madison Square Garden in 2011 when the Zack Ryder stuff was really taking off. And The Rock came back that night. He wrestled his first match that night in like 8 years. He teamed with Cena against Miz and R-Truth. And really the whole show. But even when the show was over and Rock was cutting a promo, he was being drowned out for a while there by chants of "We Want Ryder," and to the point where he had to stop his promo and acknowledge it. So this was like where the Ryder stuff was really starting to take off. And if I remember correctly, I think Ryder, funny enough, I think Ryder, and somebody will tell me if I'm wrong, I think he wrestled Dolph actually at the beginning of the show that night. But yeah, why not save Cardona for tonight and have Nemeth on Friday against LA Knight? That I don't really understand. But he got a big pop here. And I'm just watching this going, man, I just called a match with this guy 48 hours ago at the House of Glory show. And now here he is on Monday Night Raw. It's funny how those things work. Well, except when I called the match on Saturday, he was Nick Nemeth. Tonight, he was not Nick Nemeth. He was Dolph Ziggler, which I figured he would be after, Cardona got Zack Rydered on Friday. Why would they have Ziggler come out and be anything but Dolph Ziggler on this show? So Ziggler got off to a hot start. Beautiful drop kick. But heading into the break, Solo took control, held it all the way through the break until they came back. Ziggler did manage a famouser for a near fall. Sikoa came back with a huge spinning Solo slam for a near fall of his own. And he brandished the taped up thumb. He was going to go for the Samoan spike. Dolph ducked it and got a roll up for a close two. And then he hit the zigzag. And what a fucking reaction for this. And he went for the cover and he hooked the leg and everybody thought maybe he would have it. And then Solo kicked out at the last second. And I had flashbacks there with the reaction when he hit that zigzag here. I had flashbacks to the reaction when he hit that, when he cashed in on Alberto Del Dipshit. And he hit that zigzag, and it was actually at the Izod Center in New Jersey, so not too far from here. And he won the championship. His sole world heavyweight championship, he won the championship with that move. But it was not to be here. He followed up with a super kick. He tried for another zigzag. Solo shook him off and then spiked him right in the throat. And he got the 3 count to advance. So both TNA guys in this tournament are ousted in the opening round. Thanks for coming. The funny thing is they never, I don't think one time acknowledged that they are currently wrestling in TNA. I mean, this is the way they operate. NXT is a whole other beast, but on the main roster, not only do they get their old names back, you can't even acknowledge that they are a part of TNA. If they did on commentary, I didn't hear it. It's like, oh, look who's back. Zack Ryder is back. Oh my God, Dolph Ziggler is back, everybody. I guess he's just been chilling for the last few years. They're just hanging out. Oh, man. Can't even tell people where they are, how you can find them, what they've been up to. So, yeah, you have Dolph Ziggler here booked to lose. I mean, look, the more things change, the more they stay the same. What did you really expect? He was treated like a perennial mid-carder for basically the entirety of his career in this company. At no point was Dolph Ziggler truly treated as any sort of main event talent, even though he had main event talent. He was a perennial mid-carder, or upper mid-carder his entire time in the company. Did whatever they asked of him. And always, knocked it out of the park, super talented, super athletic, to the point where I think it actually worked to his disadvantage. That's why they wanted him to help make other people look good at his own expense. But that's how they used him. So you had to know that he wasn't beating Solo Sikoa, even though everybody else does. Finally, they found somebody who Solo could beat. Solo's got the MFTs on SmackDown. We got to keep them looking strong. The MFTs have a Survivor Series elimination match coming up on SmackDown in 2 weeks. It's going to be the MFTs against Sami Zayn, Shinsuke Nakamura, Rey Fenix, the Motor City Machine Guns. Dolph Ziggler is back for one night only. Did you honestly believe that he was going to beat Solo Sikoa? That's why I was kind of hoping it would be Joe Hendry, because Joe Hendry is now officially signed and sealed. He is a WWE superstar, even though he's going to be in NXT. So it's like, he's their guy. He could beat Solo Sikoa. But even that was probably not going to happen. So nothing about this was really much of a surprise. It's too bad, though, I'll tell you, because had Ziggler advanced, it would have made for a better match in the next round. Against anybody. It doesn't even matter who you put him in the ring with. It would have been a better match. But it was not to be. So instead, it's going to be Solo Sikoa in the next round. They never put together any kind of bracket for this. What they did show us, though, is that Solo Sikoa will meet the winner of the match that is coming up on Friday on SmackDown between Finn Balor and Penta, which has to be Penta. I don't see them doing heel on heel in this situation. So, and honestly, they protect Penta more than they protect Finn Balor, who lost tonight as well in that six-man tag. So it should be Solo and Penta would be my guess in the next round. So after this, it was all on Javon Evans. It's like, okay, the TNA guy lost, the heel won. We need Javon to find a way to pull through tonight so we can get a babyface win here in this tournament, because if he doesn't do it, we get 2 heel wins here on the show. And they actually gave us a quick video package for Javon, which I liked. I thought that was smart for them to do that. Now, after this, Alexa Bliss, one half of the now former WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, made her way out to the ring by herself. They recapped the angle that they shot at the beginning of SmackDown this past Friday, where we had Rhea Ripley and Io Sky and Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair. They were all in the ring together. And out of nowhere, Charlotte says, Lexi, I can't do this. She looks at Rhea. She goes, Rhea, I don't like you. I don't respect you. I think you're a snake. And so I can't be a part of this team. And she left. And so what are they doing? They're trying to create some internal drama on the babyface side, heading into War Games. I said, all right, you let this go for a week, 2 weeks. And then at the last minute, Charlotte's going to come home and she'll be a part of the team. So that's what led to this. And Alexa complained that Charlotte ignored all of her calls and text messages all weekend. And she knows that she's been around because she sees her posting photos of her frolicking around the city. So she called the cameraman over and she looked dead into the camera. She said, really, Charlotte? Said, after everything that we've been through, I get that you're upset about us losing the tag team titles, but we can always get those back. It's harder to get back trust. Everyone warned me not to trust you, but I ignored them because I knew who you were on the inside. But maybe now Charlotte was proving her wrong. Bliss said that she got her ass beat simply because Charlotte didn't like Rhea Ripley. Charlotte wasn't there when Bliss needed her best friend. And I should point out that Alexa Bliss was getting what chance throughout the segment. And I thought she handled it well because she acknowledged them and she kind of incorporated them into the promo. She's like, yeah, really, guys. And they just kept going with it because, they get drunk and stupid, and that's what stupid people do. So she handled it as best she could. But she was interrupted by Asuka, Kairi Sane, Nia Jax, and Lash Legend. Nia, as Bliss's former friend, said that she understood exactly why Charlotte left her. And the heels surrounded Bliss on the apron. Rhea Ripley and Io Sky, they ran out to the ring to join her. They were still outnumbered, though. Ripley and Io, they brawled with Asuka and Kairi on the outside. That left Alexa alone in the ring with Nia Jax and Lash Legend. Charlotte finally runs out to, honestly, a pretty tepid reaction. Like, not a big pop or anything like that when they played her music. But she ran out to the ring with a kendo stick. She attacked Nia and Lash with the kendo stick over and over and over and over and over again. Just lashed them, no pun intended. She was lashing Lash over and over and over until finally they rolled out of the ring. So Charlotte helps Bliss up to her feet, gives her a hug. And then on the opposite, well, really in the opposite corner, are Rhea Ripley and Io Sky. And Io sees Charlotte hugging Alexa. So Io, in like a very comedic way, grabs Rhea and gives her a big hug and is looking at Charlotte like, oh yeah? So that was kind of amusing, and Charlotte couldn't help but start cracking up laughing. She obviously could not contain herself. That was honestly the most amusing part of the entire segment, were the last 5 seconds. So I have a question for all of you. Are you ready? Are you ready for kendo games coming up in a few weeks in San Diego? Because that's what we're getting. Get ready for the kendo sticks. You got a little preview of it here tonight on the show. It's War Games. But I just love how they rendered that whole angle they did. I mean, I guess they could still tease tension during the match between Charlotte and Rhea, but I don't know. I kind of feel like they just rushed right through what should have been an angle that went at least another week. And then you bring Charlotte home, maybe on the Go Home show or something. It's like, what was the point of even doing that angle on Friday where she walked out and says, I can't team with you? And then tonight she comes out to save Alexa, but she's in the ring and they're talking like, all right, well, we don't know what Charlotte's going to do, but yeah, it kind of looks like she's going to be on the team after all. It's like, okay. Way to render that angle kind of pointless from Friday. Just rush right through it. This wasn't much of a segment. This was the weak point of the show. Alexa's promo was fine. It was good, but the segment itself was really nothing special. After this, though, we had Becky Lynch defending the Women's Intercontinental Championship against Maxxine Dupri. Jessica Carr was the referee yet again for Becky's match, and Becky has complained before that this referee has constantly screwed her over in these matches. So, of course, she keeps getting assigned to these matches. And what do they think this is, the NBA? So the crowd was mostly bored, honestly, for the first few minutes of this. You could tell because they broke out their phones and they just started doing the fireflies. They were more entertaining themselves than being entertained by this match. Becky was arguing with Jessica as she called for the bell to actually start the match. I should point that out. So they did a very quick near fall spot at the very beginning that nobody bought. But anyway, later on, as this thing went on, Maxxine hit a fisherman suplex. She dropped her straps and she really missed a leg drop for a near fall. Becky booted her arm and then tried to target it, obviously setting it up for the disarm her. Maxxine, though, fought back again. Becky lifted her out of the corner and hit a powerbomb. Becky tried applying an armbar. Maxxine bridged out of it, and she got an ankle lock applied, and then she ultimately grapevined the legs like Kurt Angle in there, and she's got her in the center of the ring, and this is where the fans started to really get into it, because once she got the grapevine, and she was kind of in the middle of the ring, the fans were like, oh, wait a minute here. She might actually win with this move. And Becky is teasing that she might tap out, and she's screaming in pain, and she's flailing around, and she's trying to find her way out of this. So she does ultimately manage to slip out of the hold, and she kicked Dupri in the arm again. Becky hit a manhandle slam, but when she did, she hit it right next to the ropes. So we got the predictable rope break when Maxxine put her foot on the bottom rope. Becky got in the referee's face again, and she starts poking her in the chest. And Jessica is not having any of this shit. So she's batting her hand down, telling her you need to pay attention to your opponent, focus on the match. Becky threw Maxxine out of the ring, and as Jessica is checking on Maxxine, Becky's in the corner and she's trying to untie the top turnbuckle pad. And as she's attempting to do this, all of a sudden we hear, "Let's light it up." And I'm not talking about Snoop Dogg. I'm talking about AJ Lee. AJ Lee skips out. We haven't seen her since WrestlePalooza. So she skips down the aisle, right down to the ring. This distracts Becky. And when Becky turns around, she gets caught by a flying crossbody. Maxxine is flying through the air. She lands the crossbody. She hooks the leg. She gets the flash pin. Basically has a win over The Rock. But it was because Stone Cold Steve Austin caused a distraction. And they, as I recall, they played Austin's music even after Hurricane won. It's like he won, but it's like, I don't know. Like, did he really? That's what this kind of felt like to me. Like, Maxxine won, but did she really? Not really. So it made her look a little bit weak. But she won. And it got a great reaction at the finish. And I think fans were also just really happy to see, they're just really happy to see AJ, back. So Maxxine immediately rolls out of the ring. She had a look on her face like she couldn't believe it. And they handed the championship to her. She was in shock. She's, hugging and embracing AJ in the aisleway, holds the championship up, and they shoot pyro off behind her, on the by the stage. Becky was obviously just beside herself with anger in the ring. She was all pissed off. The match itself was really nothing special. What we saw of it, the match itself was nothing special at all. But the thing is, like Maxxine Dupri, if you think about where Maxxine Dupri was a year ago, and I actually think back to that house show. I don't remember when it was. Was it last year or the year before? I don't remember. But there was a house show that made news because there might have been one fan who made some derogatory comment, like a very disrespectful comment at Maxxine, and everybody on the internet was very bothered by this and upset about this. And I think she kind of, took it in stride. But to go from that, where she just wasn't very good, she was someone who got thrown right into the fire. She did not spend hardly any time in NXT. They had this role for her as part of the Alpha Academy, and she's hot, so let's call her up to the main roster, even though she's really not ready for that. And then they wanted her to wrestle, and she wasn't at the experience level that a lot of the other women were. So those rare occasions when she would be able to wrestle, she really didn't do much. She didn't know much. She had to learn on the job. And it's taken a while, and she's still not great. She still has a long way to go. It's not like she's out there having these 10, 12-minute matches, 15-minute matches, and just, tearing the house down. But she has made tremendous strides over the last couple of years. She has made noticeable improvements. And it's not just like her in-ring maneuvers and technique. It's like her personality and her facial expressions and the way she carries herself, and she'll drop the straps. She'll get all intense. She's putting the pieces together in a way that they just were not put together before. And you could see, like, she's always training with Natty and TJ down at the dungeon and trying to learn and trying to improve, like on her days off and stuff. So it's cool to see her progress to a point where she's doing something meaningful on the show. And working with Becky Lynch, this was their third match together. Working with Becky Lynch is not a bad thing, because the run that Becky had with that championship this year was very good. She had a very good feud with Lyra. She took the title. She's had the title since, I think, June. And she has helped elevate that Intercontinental Championship in a way that WWE never bothered to do with the U.S. title on SmackDown, which is why the U.S. title on SmackDown is suffering right now. I mean, the disparity between the two championships and the way they've been booked and treated is just night and day. Now that Maxxine Dupri has the championship, my fear is that we're going to get more of the same on Raw with that title as we saw with Julia in the U.S. title on SmackDown, which would be terrible. I don't think that Maxine's going to have that belt for very long. I think they wanted her to get the moment. I think it was more about having AJ do something to screw over Becky Lynch. That will be the catalyst to AJ being on the babyface side in War Games, which we kind of saw the tease for that later on. And then Becky is going to end up being the fifth woman on the heel side. So you'll have AJ here and Becky there, and they can pick up with their feud and continue their feud. I would not be shocked if Becky just wins the belt back, as soon as December 13th, Saturday night's main event. Because I think what they want to do is get the belt back on Becky so that they can then build to Becky and AJ for the Intercontinental Championship early next year. So Maxxine's not going to have this belt for very long. She got her moment in Madison Square Garden. It served its purpose. I give it a few weeks, a month, maybe at the most. That belt's going to find its way right back around Becky's waist. Unless Becky dropped the belt because she's going to, disappear for a while and go help her husband convalesce at home. But I suspect that's where we're headed with this. But it made for a fun moment. And AJ Lee being back was kind of predictable. I expected that she would probably end up on the babyface side of War Games, and we're off to the races. She did sign a full-time contract, so she was going to be back sooner than later. Now, from that title change, we turn to the next opening round match in the John Cena Last Time Is Now tournament with the Ring General, the former World Heavyweight Champion, back for the first time since SummerSlam, and his, I don't know if it was a broken nose. He had some sort of nasal injury. I think he had that injury going into the match with CM Punk, but he had surgery for it, so he's been gone for a few months. But Gunther is back on Monday Night Raw. And not only is he back on Monday Night Raw, he is back with his old NXT theme music, which they never should have changed to begin with. I don't know why all of a sudden. I don't know what the catalyst for this was, but I was like, oh, wait a minute. I know that music. And sure enough, he got his old music back against Javon Evans. Actually, I should say that's not Gunther's music. That's Walter's music. That's the music he was using from like the NXT UK days before they changed his name. I will say, of all the crap songs that Def Rebel has produced, I would not say that Gunther's WWE music was crap. Like, it grew on me. It was not terrible. Like, there have been some terrible, like, just god-awful Def Rebel slop. And I liked his WWE music. So it's not like, oh my God, I'm so happy the old music is back because the current one sucked. But to me, this is still the better of the two. So I was happy to hear. I was completely unexpected. I was happy to hear that. And the fans actually chanted Walter at the beginning of this match. I thought they were chanting Goldberg at first, which would have made no sense whatsoever. But I'm pretty sure that they were chanting Walter. So this was the match I was looking forward to. Javon Evans is out there, and Gunther is dismissively patting him on the head. Like, okay, little boy. So Evans smacks him, and he chops Gunther. He countered a few spots until Gunther booted him to take over. Evans countered a powerbomb into a Hurricane Rana, which might have made for a good near fall. The only thing is the referee refused to count because Gunther's shoulders were not fully down on the mat. So Evans followed with a somersault kick. He tried a suicide dive. Gunther caught him, though, out of midair and just tossed him hard into the LED side of the ring apron. There was a chop. I have to point this out. I'm pretty sure it was during the second commercial break. There was a chop that Gunther gave to Javon Evans here in this match. I shit you not. This chop echoed. I wasn't even in the building. It echoed through that building. It was like a shotgun blast went off. And the crowd reaction to it was awesome. My reaction was the same way. I was like, holy shit. I mean, he chops a lot in his matches. This one connected. This one connected in a major way. You could see he chopped the soul out of this young man. So anyway, they traded strikes until Evans tried a move where he was springing off the ropes and Gunther booted him. So Evans countered Gunther once again, this time into a cutter, and he hit a dive out over the top rope. Evans followed with a tremendous frog splash. Montez Ford would be proud. Only got a near fall. And the crowd is into this now. Not that they weren't into it at the beginning. They really were into it throughout. But now it's like it's escalating, right, to that next level where they're really getting into it. Gunther hit an uppercut to the back of Evans' neck as he sprang off the top rope. He was going for a cutter, something, coffin drop. But Gunther just fucking chopped him right in the neck on the way down. Gunther followed with a suplex and then a power bomb. Evans, though, kicked out, and that got a reaction because he's won matches with that power bomb before. And here, Javon Evans kicked out. So that got a rise out of the crowd. Gunther got the sleeper applied. Speaking of moves that he has won many matches with. And Evans, he's trying to fight out of it, and it looks like he might actually fight out of it. And he's getting closer to the ropes, and the crowd is with it. Like, come on, they really want him to find his way out. But then ultimately Gunther cinches it in back in the center of the ring. And Evans, he starts to kind of go and then just very gently starts like tapping. And the referee calls for the bell. It's a little anticlimactic as far as like the finishing moment there. And it sucked the life out of those 18,000 people because it was like, oh, fuck, like they were really hoping he would pull it out. Like, that is a credit to him because he's just so damn fun to watch. And he's so damn good that even though he's never had a Raw match, I mean, he's been on SmackDown a few times. I don't believe he's ever had a Monday Night Raw match before tonight. And the people, some knew who he was. And if you didn't know who he was, I don't see how you can watch him and not get behind him and not get into the match because it's just, he's exciting to watch. That's why I lump him in with guys like Braun Breaker and Obafemi and Jacob Fatu and Dominic Mysterio. He's younger than them. So he's got more time to really develop and get even better. But he's going to be one of those guys, if he continues on the path that he is on and doesn't get into trouble or get injured or injury prone or anything like that, where he is going to be a future world champion. He's going to be a big fucking deal. He is the kind of guy that you can build an entire brand around. He's part of that nucleus of 5. I lump him in there with those guys. So he went out there tonight. I knew they were going to go out there and have a really good match. Like, it's Javon Evans and Gunther. It would be very difficult, even if there's like a few rough spots and they've not worked together before, like it would be impossible for these two to go in there and have anything but at least a good match. And they had a very good match. I enjoyed this greatly. This was easily the best match of this tournament so far. Easily. Name me a better match that we've seen in this tournament. We haven't. So not really much of a surprise there. But when it was over, Gunther left the ring and you could hear the crowd. They were chanting for Javon. They were giving him an ovation as they cut to the back. We did find out that Gunther is going to he's going to get the winner of the match that's coming up on Friday between Carmelo Hayes and Bronson Reed. And I talked about this on Friday, and I said, if there is going to be an upset in this tournament, it is a lot more likely to be Carmelo Hayes and not Javon Evans. Because what is the last thing we saw? One of the last things we saw at the end of that SmackDown show on Friday night. We saw Bronson Reed give a tsunami splash to Cody Rhodes. Carmelo Hayes is wrestling Bronson Reed on TV this week. Why would Cody not come out and cause a distraction or cause Bronson Reed in some way, shape, or form to end up on the losing end of that match so that he can go, fuck you. You fuck with me, I fuck with you. And he gets bounced out of the tournament and Carmelo Hayes effectively backdoors his way into the next round. Because that's the only way Carmelo Hayes is moving on in the next round of this tournament. Either take your pick, Cody Rhodes or Roman Reigns. Which one of them shows up on Friday to cost Reed the win in this match? It would be really lame if it was like a count out situation. But however it happens, after seeing that the winner of that is wrestling Gunther, it's going to be Carmelo Hayes. Got to be Gunther and Bronson Reed to me doesn't even make sense as a match. I don't see it happening. So I think Carmelo Hayes is going to be the upset of the tournament. And we'll get Gunther and Carmelo, which, by the way, has the potential to be just as good as the match we saw tonight. They let Carmelo go out there and do what he is capable of doing and give those guys some time on the show next week. That'll be a banger match. So I think Carmelo Hayes is going to pick up that win on Friday. That'll be our quarterfinal match. Now, Penta is in there. Penta is in this tournament. He's wrestling Finn Balor on the show this upcoming Friday. And now that we know all the names in this tournament, we've got Penta. Sheamus is still in there. But let's be honest here. If we're being perfectly honest, there's nobody else. It will be Gunther. Gunther will be wrestling John Cena in his retirement match. There is no other name in this tournament that is realistically going to go on to the finals and win. It's not going to be Sheamus. It's not going to be Bronson Reed. It's not going to be LA Knight. Yeah. No. It's going to be Gunther. And that was the rumor all along. And there was always maybe some people had the hope that, I hope it's not Gunther. It's going to be Gunther. Like now we know. It's very, very clear at this point. The only question is we don't know any kind of bracketing. So are we potentially in for a Gunther Sheamus final at Survivor Series? I was kind of hoping Ilya Dragunov would end up in this tournament because, man, what a match that would have been. You do Gunther and Dragunov in the finals at Survivor Series. How fucking great would that have been? But I'll take Gunther and Sheamus. It's been long enough. We haven't seen it. I think that would be a great final. We could be looking at Gunther and LA Knight. I'll tell you what I don't want to see. And this is what Triple H would absolutely do this. What I don't want is Gunther and Jey Uso in the main event and the final match of this tournament. That is the last thing that I want to see. I've seen enough of that this year. We don't need to see that again. Give me literally any other match in this tournament except Gunther and Jey Uso. Literally any other match. I don't care what it is. You know, years ago, before COVID fucked everything up, we were supposed to get Gunther and Finn Balor at a takeover, NXT UK takeover in Dublin, and we never got it. I'll take that over Gunther and Jey Uso. Why did I have to say? I'm laying out all the possibilities. I'm letting you guys know what the possibilities are. Don't blame me if something bad happens. Oh, man. Jey Uso against Solo Sikoa in the finals. Are you trying to intentionally sabotage this tournament? I feel like some of you now are booking scenarios to intentionally sabotage the remainder of this tournament. Can you imagine if Triple H books Solo Sikoa to win the tournament with the idea that at one time Solo Sikoa destroyed John Cena? Remember he hit John Cena with like 1,000,000 Samoan spikes and just beat him? And Cena never really got his revenge on Solo. And Triple H is like, well, we tell stories. We tell long-term stories here. We got to let things cook and simmer for a while. We're going to have John Cena get his revenge on Solo Sikoa in his final match. You want to find a way to ruin John Cena's retirement? There you go. I just booked it out for you. We go backstage. Jackie is with AJ Lee and the new Intercontinental Champion, Maxxine Dupri, and congratulated Maxxine on her big win. Maxxine says that all the hard work has finally paid off. She says, I belong here. He did, yes, he AA'd Solo at WrestleMania 40. That he did one spot. I don't know that I would call that revenge for Solo spiking him 17 times and pinning him in a match. Outside of Gunther and Evans, I think they already sabotaged the tournament. Well, you know what? Well said, brother. Well said. They already have dropped the ball. This tournament could have been a lot stronger. I agree. 100%. So Maxxine thanks AJ. And AJ says, "Don't thank me. It was all you, boo." AJ said she hates bullies. Otis and Tozawa show up and they head off with Maxxine for the after party. Jackie asks AJ if she's going to stick around this time. And AJ says, at first I only wanted to help my husband back at WrestlePalooza. But Becky, she makes me feel things. I'm sure she makes a lot of people feel things. But she says, we'll see. So Rhea Ripley shows up. She makes people feel things. She makes Kathy Kelly feel things. You see the online relationship between these two. They're always posting all these photos and videos they're always posting. Rhea Ripley makes Kathy Kelly feel some things. Rhea asks AJ, hey, you have a second to chat? AJ says, sure. And Rhea puts her arm around her and off they go. So there you go. AJ Lee will be a part of her first War Games. You'll end up with Becky Lynch on the opposing side, and there are your War Games teams. It is settled. They close the show with a face-to-face with the men in War Games, or at least the ones up to this point that we knew were actually in the War Games match. Paul Heyman was out with Bron Breakker, Bronson Reed, Logan Paul, and Drew McIntyre. Heyman said that he has walked the Samoan SWAT team and the Freebirds to the ring for the War Games. He has walked the Dangerous Alliance to the ring for the War Games. Yes, he has. In fact, he walked the Dangerous Alliance to the ring for the best War Games that has ever taken place against Sting's Squadron. He has walked the Bloodline to the ring for the War Games. This right here, though, is the greatest assembly of talent ever put together for the War Games. And it's not, but he has to say that. CM Punk's music interrupts. Punk walks out with his hands all taped up, no World Heavyweight Championship. Then it was the Usos out through the crowd, followed by Cody Rhodes, who came down the aisle, also no WWE Championship. And there was a funny moment here where Cody comes down to the ring and he stands right next to Punk in the aisleway. They're side by side. And Cody wanted a fist bump from Punk. The only thing is, Punk didn't see it. I legitimately think he didn't see it. So Cody's just like, he's waiting for that fist bump and it's not coming. So he just kind of like forces a fist bump just so that he's not left hanging, even though he was left hanging. Poor guy. And so the babyfaces hit the ring and the brawl began, and it was 4-on-4. Drew fought with Cody outside the ring. Logan was in the corner delivering body shots to Punk. Punk reversed him out into the opposing corner, hit that running, lifting knee, the rising knee into the Bulldog. And then he gave the signal for the GTS. So it was going to be nighty-night here for Logan Paul. When Brock Lesnar's music hits, and out comes Cowboy Brock, takes the hat off, makes a beeline for the ring. The Beast is here. I'm watching CM Punk and Brock Lesnar ready to square off. One of the best SummerSlam matches of all time back in 2013. But now they're a lot older. A lot of time has gone by. Lesnar didn't even, barely was able to even get into the ring before Punk attacked him. And he immediately got dumped on his head, right on the back of his head. And then he got dumped again with a suplex. Out of the ring goes Punk. Now Cody is in to confront Lesnar. And he sends Cody flying with honestly one of the highest release German suplexes that you will ever see. I mean, Cody went flying through the air. And then he hit him with another one. And they flashed the closing credits on this. This is a Triple H thing. He loves doing this. They flashed the closing credits on the screen like the show is over, and that's it. That's all you're going to get. And I'm like, they're not leaving us like this. This is the perfect opportunity. We got to get that fifth man out here for the babyface team. It could only be one person. But we have, Paul Levesque's name is on the screen as the executive producer, and Brock's got a big smile on his face. He goes over, Heyman's outside the ring, and he reaches over. He's going to slap hands with Heyman. And of course, Roman Reigns arrives. This is return number, what are we up to this year? 6? Is this the fifth or sixth return for him this year? I've lost count at this point. Roman, he's late, by the way. That's that Judge Judy meme. Time. Gotta pay attention. There's a call time for these shows. Roman is in no great rush to come down to the ring. Roman has new merch. See, my theory is this. Roman wants as many returns as possible throughout the year so that each time he shows up, he has a brand new piece of merch. OTC1. This was a new shirt. This was a very different shirt because he's got one long sleeve and then one short sleeve. I don't know if this look is going to catch on, but that is the new shirt. Now, unless he just did that himself, where he ripped, didn't look like he ripped the other sleeve off. I think that's just the way the shirt is. Brock was in the ring. He was smiling. He was ready for him. And I'm just thinking, man, you fuckers lied. You lied to me. You told me 3 years ago at SummerSlam that was it, that we would never again see Roman Reigns and Brock Lesnar in the ring together. And I held you to that. They had their best match, probably was their last match. And now they're going to be back in the ring together again in War Games. You lied to me. I don't like being lied to. Roman gets in the ring. They have a stare down here. Brock hits the ropes. Roman ducked a clothesline, and he took Brock down with a Superman punch. And Brock bounced right out of the ring. Security finally arrived to keep Roman in the ring. They had other security geeks outside to crowd around Lesnar and keep him from going back to the ring. Bronson Reed then attacks Roman Reigns from behind, and he starts to bounce each one of the security geeks out of the ring one by one. Up he goes for the tsunami, but Roman popped back up and caught him with a Superman punch, knocked him off the ropes. So then they said, the NYPD is here, the New York City Police Department. Not in those uniforms, but that's what they wanted you to believe. The NYPD is here now. And they're outside the ring. They're getting in between Roman and Logan Paul outside the ring. Roman, though, he goes around the cops. Apparently, they're so inept they couldn't prevent him from going around them because he spots Bronson Reed is over right in front of the timekeeper's barricade. And he goes and he spears Reed and one of the rent-a-cops through the barricade because we haven't seen that spot before. I was starting to get the shakes here, you know. I'm starting to twitch out because it's been, what has it been? It's only been about a week since we've seen a barricade spot. I was starting to tweak out here. It's a good thing they gave us one tonight. You know what I would love is if they ever woke up and realized that what they should do is reinforce that barricade because it breaks on every show. You would think by now they would put some sort of like gigantic, not maybe metal, but like a concrete slab or something. And when he goes for a spear, he just knocks himself the fuck out. Like, I would laugh. I would die laughing. It's like Bret Hart when he concealed the plate and Goldberg speared him. They need to reinforce that barricade. That's what they need to do. But that's how they went off the air. And I think they went off the air early. I think it was like 10:24, 10:25. Yeah, Marquand says it was the NYDP. Yeah, maybe that's what it was. It wasn't the NYPD, I could tell you that. So the field of five is now complete on both sides. Brock Lesnar will be in his first War Games match, and they basically have an all-star team on the babyface side. You've got Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes, and CM Punk. We'll forget the other two. But, I mean, that's a pretty impressive lineup right there, just with those three guys alone. And, of course, you got Brock and Drew on the other side. Braun is like, he's the future. And then Logan Paul, he dips in and out whenever they need him. So, they've got some star power there in that match. And at least most, if not all of the guys in this match have history with each other. Logan actually has history with Roman as well as Cody. And now he's been beefing with Punk lately. Punk has history with Drew, but also with Brock. Brock has history with basically, most of the people on the babyface side. Cody, Punk, Roman, him and Roman especially. Roman and Bronson Reed, they're still going at it, right? The tribal thief. So there's a lot of history between most of the men that are involved in this match. I don't know if they're just going to gloss over the whole Roman Reigns Usos thing where he told them, I don't want to see y'all till Christmas. That's probably something that should be brought up on the show next week, if Roman is even on the show next week. Because we know Brock won't be, and John Cena won't be. It would be nice if Roman was on the show next week, and they could flesh that out a little bit. And they did mention that next week on the show, they're going to have the man advantage match. And I would assume they'll do one for the women on that show too. They did not say what form that's going to take. They did not say if it's going to be a singles match, if it's going to be like a multi-man tag match of some kind. Again, Brock won't be part of it if it is. But we're going to get the man advantage match on the show next week. Overall, this was a very strong show. There was some stuff on there I wasn't fond of. Again, I talked about the stuff they did in the Stephanie and Nikki Bella segment. But Cena's final Raw appearance was a big deal. We had several major returns on this show. Roman, Brock, AJ Lee. We have a new women's Intercontinental champion. We had the Ziggler surprise in the tournament. And we had a great match, great battle between Gunther and Javon Evans. That's what I was looking forward to, and it delivered. So this was an excellent show. And I pray for SmackDown come Friday. And anybody who is going to be watching it live, I will not be one of them because I will not be here on Friday. I'm going to be in Chicago. I have a House of Glory show on Friday night. We are sold out at Logan Square Auditorium, so I will not be here for SmackDown. So I wish you well. I'll have to catch it on Saturday at some point. But anyway, so that was Raw for tonight. Let's take a look at the poll. What did you think of Raw from Madison Square Garden? 88% have given this show a thumbs up. 12.2% thumbs down. I think you guys liked Raw tonight. That's what I'm getting from these poll results. I think you were a fan of this Monday Night Raw show. I could be wrong, though. Hey, Shark. Thank you for the $10. Look at this. Shark on a pole. Shark on a pole, bro. Thank you for the $10. Appreciate it. I know you guys got wrestling questions. And you want to scream at me. Go ahead. Go ahead and scream. JP says, we're skipping SmackDown too. Good. We'll all skip it. We'll send them a message. You want to send a message? That's how you send a message. Yeah, this is not going to be a week where they've done any favors for SmackDown after the way they blew their load with his Raw show tonight. It's going to be impossible for SmackDown to live up to what they did tonight at the Garden. But that's on them to try. It's their job to try. We'll start with Dark Effect with a $5 super chat. Kicking us off here. On the Bret Hart scale, what would you rate Gunther? 0 through 10 on looks, promo ability, ring work. In my opinion, Gunther is the best in the world today. He's certainly one of the best, that's for sure. I mean, I don't even know exactly. I mean, for me, I would give Gunther, he's at least a 7 or an 8 for sure. I'd probably go 8. Dried Chicken says 7 letters, 1 word, tsunami. Bronson Reed approved this message. The Real CS with the $4.99. Despite his booking, do you think Pete Dunne has a future as Triple H's right-hand man? I could definitely see him to Triple H as like a Pat Patterson was to Vince McMahon. Or even like a William Regal is right now to Triple H. You know, Regal's not going to be working there forever. I think Pete Dunne could end up in a role like that, where he can almost be like a consigliere for Triple H. You know, he's doing agency work right now, I think, for AAA, I believe. I mean, he's doing the Grande Americanos stuff as well under the mask, but he's already in that role in a way behind the scenes. But supposedly, you know, he's someone that Triple H has great respect for. And so, yeah, I could see him ending up in a spot like that. We've got bland dried chicken and turkey. Says, when it comes to the WWE creative team on SmackDown, it's like they cook the chicken or steak, but something is missing. They don't marinate or season the meat before they cook it. I saw a video going around on X. It's probably on IG also, or TikTok. Might have been a TikTok video, actually, that got lifted and sent everywhere else. But it was this video where it's like, this is how we cook steak in Texas. And I want to hear from all my Texas people. Actually, Food Hive, I don't know if he's with us tonight, but Food Hive is a Texas guy. He'd probably be appalled by this. So this guy took a steak and he boiled it. He put it in a pot and he boiled it. And he literally, and I don't think it was done as a joke. And he's like putting the seasoning in the water. And then he took like a bread roll, like a dinner roll, and he put that in the pot in the water as well. And he takes the steak out, and it's like, you can't tell me that in Texas, this is how they cook steak. It looked, he was cooking it medium well, but he boiled the meat and the bread. So now you have soggy bread. Why would you want to consume this? Boiled meat and soggy bread? I feel like that's the sort of thing they would arrest you for in Texas. Or deport you for, either way. It was like, I was appalled. I was absolutely appalled. It says, Solo, pick your poison. 3 hours of SmackDown, more title belts in AEW. Or grow a beard and a mullet. I will grow the beard and the mullet. May take me a while, but yes, it is blasphemy. I was offended just watching the video, but he just throws it in a fucking boiling pot of water and boils the steak. I'm like, the hell are you doing? Yeah. For starters, you ruined the steak. Medium well? No. I'm Portuguese and we consider bread a utensil, but no. Steak stew. Talk about ruining a steak. Victor says, buy, sell, rent on Dr. Doom, Magneto, and Loki. I got to buy on Magneto. Magneto's my guy, and then I'll rent on Dr. Doom and sell on Loki. Buy or sell on the better dropkick, AJ Styles or Randy Orton? Randy Orton has a beautiful dropkick. AJ's got a pretty wicked dropkick too, though. And Okada. Can't leave Okada out of the conversation. You know who had a really good dropkick? One of the best? Hardcore Holly. Dolph had a pretty good one tonight against Solo Sikoa. I'll go Randy Orton. Victor says, any thoughts on Cena's behavior on Total Divas? Yeah, he was a giant diva on the show. It's a reality show, which means most of what you see is fake. He was playing a character. Not that I was really watching it week to week. Maybe you saw more of him on there than I did. I did see the episode where he dressed up in what was going to be his heel gear many years ago before Vince got cold feet. It was that singlet. And I know like he had like rules, didn't he? Didn't he have like a contract that Nikki Bella had to sign if she was going to live in the same house with him? He sounded like a total nightmare. I mean, some of that might be kind of truthful, but like I just automatically disbelieve anything I see on those reality shows because I just think it's all phony. Dried Chicken says, I'm predicting TKO/WWE will attempt to negotiate a deal with the White House to host a WWE show similar to the UFC. Well, hopefully not. but I don't really give a shit. The Boss Mo Jackson says, "What's up, Solomonster? Stopping through to support your channels. I'm looking forward to TNT tomorrow, my favorite show of the week." Boss Mo Jackson, I appreciate the love, brother. I hope you're doing well, and I will see you there. TNT tomorrow night. Also, he says, Ziggler returns. I've always thought Dolph was a cross between Shawn Michaels and Mr. Perfect. I mean, stylistically, you could see where he kind of borrowed from each of them. His bumping style was very similar to Kurt Hennig. And even like some of the gear he would wear and the way he tunes up the band, you could see where the Shawn Michaels influence comes from. So there's a reason why you feel that way, because there's an influence there from both. Victor says, thoughts on Oba versus Brock at WrestleMania 42. Feels a little too soon for them to just be going into that. I hope we get the match at some point. I don't see it being at WrestleMania 42, though. Probably a better chance of Brock and Gunther than Brock and Oba at 42. Robbie H5 says the youth, quote unquote, and the quote unquote cross brand promised in this tournament was highly exaggerated. Well, they gave it to you at least once, so they can say, well, we didn't lie to you. But yeah, the way they were talking about it, it's like they got you excited for it, and there wasn't enough of it. I wanted more of it in this tournament. We got a mix, but there's just too many old faces in there. And some faces that, frankly, I don't give a shit about. You know, the fact that Javon was the only NXT talent was very disappointing. The Boss Mo Jackson says, the one thing that you and I have in common is Bret Hart is our favorite wrestler. I was a Bret fanatic growing up. He's my number one of all time. Bret was that guy. Yes, he was. He absolutely was. I don't think I fully started to appreciate Bret until Hogan was really out of the picture. Because, you know, I grew up a Hogan guy at that age. You know, Hulkamania was running wild. Brother Jack Dude. And he was very charismatic. Although even as a young fan, though, like when he lost the championship to Andre in '88 and he was crying about it, like literally crying in the back. Like, what a bitch. And then to see what he did in the '92 Rumble, I'm like, man, what a bitch. Then he disappeared. And then it all fell on Bret. You know, 92 going into 93, 94, that's where I really became a big Bret Hart fan. And I've been ever since. Bret is that guy. Also, the segment with Charlotte and Bliss was hilarious. The segment with Charlotte and Bliss was horrendous. It was the worst thing on the show. Actually, no, it's the second worst thing on the show. The worst thing on the show was the segment with Stephanie and Nikki. Dry Chicken says, my glasses were blurry last Monday. I'm not sure if it was Triple H or former New York Giants head coach Brian Daboll on Raw. Well, I would say Triple H is probably more of a winner in his career exploits than Brian Daboll is. So I didn't make that mistake. Hey Eric, what's going on, man? Says Solomonster, I will also be watching the House of Glory show in Chicago this coming Friday night, since I know it will be on Triller TV Plus. That's right. It's Triller TV, not Thriller TV. Although that sounds cooler. I don't even know what a Triller is, but that's where we'll be. I will be on the call again. And if you are interested, this was not by accident. We got up the Nick Nemeth Amazing Red match from the Saturday show during Raw tonight. Put the full match up, the very beginning of the show, the first like 25 minutes of the show. So if you want to hear me do commentary for what was a really good match, you can go over to the House of Glory YouTube channel after this and go check it out. And leave a comment and mention that the Solomonster sent you, so they know. Tommy Colella, the $20 super chat. I was thinking 2 more wrestling tropes. Jeff Jarrett hitting somebody with a guitar. Somebody over the hill with the guitar. And the referee painting with all the debris. And the Dudley Boys WhatsApp, where the referee would always act dumb. Yeah, that really should be a disqualification. Hey guys, Maven here with the $5 super chat. Everybody loves Joe Hendry, but how many people love Ho Gendry? Joe Hendry's lesser known cousin. Ho Gendry? I hear he gets around. I hear he gets around the women's locker room. It's unconfirmed, though. He's a very popular guy. Tommy says, I meant pinning, not painting. I was a little confused when I read I was a little confused when I read that. I said, that's not a trope that I'm familiar with. Says he's using Google Voice. Mactub, who had the higher peak in America, Jeff or Punk? Going Jeff Hardy? I assume not Jeff Jarrett, who we were just talking about. The higher peak in America was Jeff Hardy. When Jeff Hardy was at his most popular, which was like around 08, it was Jeff Hardy. Also, I think Seth, after his babyface run was botched due to Triple H in 2016, was never the same. Thoughts on how they went about that and his gimmick in recent years? Yeah, I wasn't terribly moved by that either, and his gimmick in recent years sucks. I don't know what his gimmick is supposed to be. He comes out, he wears weird clothing, and he cackles like a hyena. I don't know what that's supposed to be. It's like he's trying to be a modern-day version of Macho Man, but not nearly as cool. Because Macho Man came out with all the colorful, over-the-top, silly, ridiculous outfits and stuff, but he was fucking cool. He was the Macho Man. So I don't know if that's what he's trying to be, but if he is, he's failing. I don't know what this gimmick is supposed to be. And I thought maybe with the Vision, it would be different, and it was just the same Seth Rollins, but with a couple of people around him. Duff's Vid says, John Cena wakes up in a hospital. John Cena says, where am I? The nurse says, ICU. John Cena says, no, you can't. Going with the you can't see me humor, huh? DJ55, the $4.99, says, Solo, my 10-year-old son and I will be at War Games. For my TNT shirt and signs, we'll be at the entrance ramp repping you and JD in sunny San Diego. Wow, I'm going to keep an eye out for that. That's very cool. I tell you guys all the time, if you're going to the shows and if you haven't been priced out of these shows and you're going to the shows, anytime you rep the Sound Off, man, or Solomonster, big letters, big sign, get a screenshot of that shit, throw it up here on the stream, give you a shout out, man. That's what it's all about. I love seeing that. Barry MK400, is this the Krusty Krab? I don't have crabs. But if I did, I would boil them with my steak. And I would have my steak medium well. Not even medium well. I think I might have my steak well done. With ketchup. I hear that's how they do it in Texas. TikTok told me that. TikTok never lies. Or TikTok. Oh, man. Alex says, Brother Solo, what did Vince not see in Ziggler throughout his 20-year career in WWE? For crying out loud, Jinder won the damn championship, but Dolph couldn't. Overall, great show, and thank you for another great stream. Well, you're very welcome. Yeah, I don't. Is that what the Krusty Krab is from? Like, I don't watch SpongeBob. I'm not 5 years old, so I may act like I'm 5 years old sometimes, but I'm not 5 years old. Why would? Do you think I sit around watching SpongeBob SquarePants all day? I don't. What did Vince not see in him? I can't, you have to ask Vince. You have to ask Vince. I always go back to that Survivor Series in 2014. When he was the sole survivor in the main event, Sting pulled him on top of Seth Rollins. That, like, around that period of time, that was, I feel like, the last real opportunity for them to truly try to elevate him to a level higher than what he was at. And they didn't do it because they just didn't see him at that level. I say they, Vince, did not see him at that level. You know, he had a really good feud for the IC title a couple years after that, or maybe 2017, with Miz. But I don't know. I look back on that Survivor Series and like, man, this is an opportunity for them to follow up on this. And they didn't do it. So, like, he won the championship. Actually, I think he won the World Heavyweight Championship twice. I said before he won it when he cashed in. I think he won it twice. And both times, like, the first time he won it in the cash-in is one of the more memorable cash-ins they've ever done. But then he got hurt. He had no run. Like, the run was completely forgettable and short and just nothing. There's just nothing to it. The second one, I'm trying to remember, or maybe it was the first one. Whichever one came first, the one with him and Vicky, I couldn't even tell you what happened. They were so forgettable. Squidward? What the fuck is Squidward? What is that? It sounds like something you would do on the toilet after you had a boiled steak. Justin G says, I am the Cena tree. Thanks, guys. Thank you, Justin. Lakers Pat says, would 3-hour Attitude Era Raws have worked? No. No, because you would have burned the audience out, I think, a lot quicker. Crash TV back then, it worked, you know, for a while. And that was at 2 hours. If you had an extra hour every single week, I don't think it would have worked. After a period of time, you would have burned the audience out. It was better to give them those types of shows and leave them wanting more for the following week. There's no weekly wrestling show, good or bad, that needs 3 hours every single week. I've always said that. That includes the Attitude Era, that includes the Golden Era, the Ruthless Aggression Era, any era you want to go back to. No need for 3 hours. On that note, Dynamite this week is 3 hours. Just figured I'd mention that. It's a Dynamite Collision combo show. We got Bobby's World with a $50 super chat. Late to the party as always, but congrats on 18 years, brother. Thank you, sir. Says, as you know, loyal listener for 10 plus, made my family fans, and pretty sure I can safely say that we are around for the long haul. Here's to many more, my friend. Hashtag GWO for life. GWO for life. Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate all the love on all the streams. Thank you for 18 great years. Wink the Cosmic Grandma. Evans versus Gunther or Shelton versus Triple H. So we're already comparing different matches here. Are we really doing this? If you were to say Shelton and Shawn, I would pick that. In this case, I'm going to go with Evans and Gunther. Dude here 73 with a 1992. Fun Raw tonight. Bittersweet watching Cena's last in-ring television match, but it was a fun match and cool seeing him tag with Sheamus and Ray. Also, what the hell do they do to Gunther's theme? They reverted back to his old theme, which I like. And if you don't, I think it'll grow on you. Hey Solo, who lived in a pineapple under the sea? That would be SpongeBob SquarePants. Who's very absorbent and very porous. And if nautical nonsense be something you wish, then drop on the deck and flop like a fish. JDFVA, Symphony 9 Allegro con Fuoco. No matter what fandom, we all have a good taste in music. B-Man the Champ. Hey Solo, if you could change any current title holders in WWE right now, who would they be? Besides the obvious Drew McIntyre as WWE Champion. If I could change any of the title holders, I think I would change all of them except Ilya Dragunov. I would just shake things up. Get it off Cody, get it off Punk, put it on Breaker. Let's go up and down the list. We got Duff's Vids. My friend Joe went on the Dolly Parton diet. It made Jolene. Yes, indeed. Derek J speaks. With how underwhelming the tournament has been overall, I don't know why they even bothered doing it. It would have been better off just having Gunther challenge Cena. Well, because they wanted something to occupy television time with. It's a good TV gimmick. You can kill a whole bunch of segments on TV and build interest in the shows over a period of weeks. That's why they did it. Probably give them another match to do at Survivor Series. Barry MK400. Stephanie really should have acted like she was knocked out. She looked perfectly fine as Nikki talked to her and did not even fight back. That's what I said. It looked completely ridiculous. This woman attacked you last week, your supposed friend, and then she attacks you again this week. And didn't do anything particularly vicious. And you're just going to lay there and let her cut her promo? Like it just made her look like a freaking weakling. Duff's Vids, what do hot dogs use for protection? Condiments. That's an old one. And also, why did the blonde only wear one snow boot? You heard there's only a 50% chance of snow. See, now I'm offended by this. You've offended me. Prince Vegeta 95. I know everyone thinks he's the best thing since sliced bread and all, and he's good, but I'm not big on WWE wasting 3 out of his last 4 matches on Dom. Yeah, I wouldn't waste that many on one person either, regardless of who it is. I'm just saying, though, like, Dom needs to get that belt back, so they get it off of Cena. I wish there was more variety in the opponents that he has had. Or maybe I just wish he had more dates. It is what it is. We're going to look back on this run. There's some really cool things that they did, and there's a lot of just wasted time and wasted opportunities. And when all is said and done, we're going to look back on this tournament, not tournament, but this retirement tour. And we're going to look at it, I think, as a disappointment compared to what it could have been. You know, they zigged instead of zagged. Triple H wanted to make a moment at the Elimination Chamber, and they did. And unfortunately, that was sort of the peak. And they had no way to really follow up on that because there was no long-term plan to what they did. And this is what happens when you don't have a long-term plan to what you're doing. Remember, John Cena announced, I want to say in July of 2024, June or July of last year, I'm pretty sure, is when he made the announcement that he was going to wrestle his last match at the end of this year. They had a lot of time to work on what these plans were going to be for John Cena's retirement tour, right? The greatest of all time. And I'm still floored that coming out of the biggest angle they have shot in years, they had no real solid plan on where to go and what to do with it. Or if they did, it sucked. If there was one thing that, like, this is impossible to botch, it was this retirement tour. And for a good chunk of it, they found a way. That is now part of Triple H's legacy. Duff's Vids. What's brown and sits on a piano chair? Beethoven's Last Movement. Prince Vegeta, am I crazy for thinking that Joe Hendry just gives me massive jobber vibes? Him hopping out of fridges and shit. Future meat for Sean Stasiak. I hope it's not boiled meat. Yeah, I mean, this is a guy who was a TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And he's popping out of garbage cans in NXT and out of refrigerators. And it's a funny comedy gimmick, but funny comedy gimmicks don't win world championships. Like, what do you want him to be? You want him to be if you want him to be a comedy gimmick, he can be a comedy gimmick, but he's only going to go so far. But that's NXT. So apparently NXT is its own universe unto itself. When he comes to the main roster, we'll see what they do with him. But, you know, Joe Hendry is also not necessarily like in ring at the level of a lot of the top guys that they have in WWE. So is he going to be able to hang with those guys? That's another question. What kind of matches are they going to have? What kind of in-ring chemistry are they going to have together? Is he going to resonate with these crowds the same way that he did in TNA or that he does in NXT? Bobby Mean says, I'm happy for Maxxine, but women's IC champion. Oh my. I don't know if this is going to work out. Who do you see beating her? I think Becky just gets the belt back next month. Moore says TK on Ariel Helwani tomorrow morning. Okay, well, I guess we'll see what he talks about. I know they've had their issues before, so that should be an interesting interview. I'm sure Tony will be in a very jovial mood talking about all the wonderful things that AEW is doing. Shark says, Solo, I'm going to have to disagree with Becky winning back the women's IC title. I feel like Becky against AJ doesn't need a title attached to it, and they can make it work without it. Yes, but who then do they have lined up for Maxxine Dupri? It's the same issue we had on SmackDown with the women's US title. You need to have other over or credible women for Maxxine to work with or drop the belt to, if not Becky, so that belt doesn't just sink to the bottom. You don't want it to sink to the bottom of the ocean. That's why Maxine's run is not going to be a terribly long one. So if it's not Becky, who she drops the belt back to, then I don't know, maybe it's Bayley. Maybe Bayley has her eyes set on the Intercontinental Championship. Maybe that eventually transitions into Bayley and Lyra in a feud for the IC title, right? They can't be a team forever. Jeremy says, Jay, LA Knight, Gunther, Sheamus, semifinals, LA Knight, Gunther final, and Gunther wins. Yeah, I could see that. Horrible heel run, ridiculous WrestleMania ending, rushed face turn, bad final opponent tournament. This Cena final year was bundled at every turn. It's really a shame. DeQuente, I'm going to call you DQ, man. Every time I see the D in the Q, I think disqualification. DQ is with us. Roman should be in jail for assaulting a police. Yeah, but that wasn't the NYPD. That was the NPYD. That was the New York Putz Department. That's a whole different crew. That's a bunch of security geeks that go around and they just get their asses handed to them. It's all good. They're not even allowed to carry a weapon. They're like the auxiliary police. Alex says, what are your thoughts on Ken Anderson making a WWE cameo now that he's back with TNA? Do you think there is still massive heat within WWE? Massive, no. I mean, it's been, what has it been, 15 years? Massive, no. And him making a cameo, I don't see a reason for him to. There's no reason for him to. There's no reason for them to bring him in. The Cobra says, if there's no Steve Austin and no NWO, do we still have the Monday Night Wars? Yeah, well, yes. Nitro would have still been on Monday night. So technically there would have been a war between the two companies. Would wrestling have been as hot? No, it would not have been. But remember, Bischoff told Ted Turner, who asked him, what do we need to do to compete with Vince? And his response was, give me prime time on, Monday nights. That was in 95. That was before Austin came over. That was before the NWO was even a thought. So yeah, there would have been competition on Mondays, but it would not have exploded as big as it did. I think it would have died out a lot sooner. And which side would have won? Which side would have won? Alexander says, thoughts on Bob Caudle passing away. I talked about Bob Caudle at the beginning of the Sound Off episode yesterday, so I have some thoughts on him there, but I was very sad. I was very sad to hear he passed away, but 95 years old. Again, we should all be so lucky to live that long. We got YIY. Understand Vince. Shame Shane wasn't acknowledged. Yeah, Stephanie and Shane were both there. They acknowledged Stephanie on camera with her podcast co-host. They did not acknowledge Shane. Jacob Gomez with the $9.99 says, I was at the show and it was great and had tons of fun. I don't know how it sounded on TV, but it was super loud in the building. Dolph was one of my favorites growing up, so excited to be able to see him. It sounded very loud on TV, so it definitely came across watching it on Netflix. Retro KOH. I mean, you sit and watch WWE with us, so checkmate. Fair enough. Yeah, and it was very cool to be able to call. This was not the first Nemeth match that I've been able to call. We had him in House of Glory actually last year, and he wrestled Vikingo. So, to be able to call his match the other night was very cool. Had a nice conversation with Killer Cross as well. And definitely brought up Kev Castle. Made sure we talked about that. And had a good conversation with Chris Van Vliet. And, was able to say hello to Sam Roberts. So there were a bunch of people who were there at the big event and then into the House of Glory show later on in the evening. And I met many of you there as well. Hopefully we'll do it all over again. The big event is coming back in March 14th of next year. So hopefully we'll do another one. And Navy 4181. Since Dominic uses the 619, wouldn't it make sense for Dominic to start using the Bronco Buster? That would be hilarious if he did it to Ray. Him doing a move like the Bronco Buster to his dad would be a little weird. I'm sorry. It just would be weird. It would be weird to me. I'm sure it'd be weird for Ray, too. Put some respect on SpongeBob. I don't have any ill will towards SpongeBob. It's that Patrick guy. I don't trust him. I don't trust him at all. I have a feeling he's on the Epstein list. Anyway, thank you guys for helping me hit the goal, which we did hit the likes goal. 516 likes. 500. 400 was the goal. We exceeded 500. And so on that note, we are going to go ahead and be the booker in a moment here. But Nick Grasso says, just wanted to pop in and say thoughts and prayers to Rebel, who was diagnosed with lung cancer. Yeah, she was diagnosed with a form of, I think it was lymphoma of the lungs. I know she's been very sick and dealing with an illness for a while and just could not get a diagnosis and only recently found out what it was. So she had it the whole time and wasn't being treated because they didn't know what it was. But evidently, if you were to get this, she got the best version of it. So hopefully she'll be able to kick its ass and make a full recovery. But yeah, no, thoughts are with her because I know she's been through the ringer. Let's be the booker.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to be the booker.
You guys ever plan on going to upstate New York with Hog? We got plans to go to a lot of places. HOG coming to the City of Angels for the first time in January. Be in Chicago this coming Friday, of course. We've been there a bunch of times. We were in Houston in July for the first time. Philadelphia for the second time back in September. And there's some other places and plans coming up in the early part of next year that I cannot reveal yet. Two of them in particular that are pretty exciting. So all I'll say is just stay tuned. All right, here we go. We got the Faces of Fear kicking us off. We've got Meng and the Barbarian. Now, we've landed on them a few times before. So let's see this time, who are we putting them in the ring with? The Faces of Fear. See, I would not want to be on the opposite side of the ring with Meng. That's the whole thing. Oh, look at this. The Faces of Fear against Rob Van Dam and Sabu. Oh, man. Meng and Sabu in the ring together? That would be a very interesting clash of styles. Hog takes Manhattan. Dude, we ran Terminal 5 a few years ago in Manhattan. Been there, done that. Who knows? Maybe Hammerstein one day. It's expensive, though. It is very expensive. I will tell you that. All right, women's Be the Booker. We have Natalia, who has a brand new book out, by the way. And I have a link. I have an Audible link where you can get that book for free. She tells some very interesting stories in there, including how she was treated by Vince McMahon after her husband almost died in the ring and suffered a catastrophic injury. That doesn't paint him in the best light. That story is in the book as well. Run Penn Station. Oh, like Shotgun Saturday Night? Yeah, I know. Well, you got to remember something, though. When they did that, that was pre-9/11. And the city and the world, it was a very different place, security-wise. I don't even know if... I doubt we would even be allowed to think about doing something like that. They basically shut that part of the terminal down just to do that show. Natty against Riho. See, Bloodsport Natty against Riho would be a very interesting battle. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. All right, main event time. Maybe we could split the bill here. Let's see what we can do. Oh, man. We have The Miz Former WWE champion, The Miz. Against Cactus Jack. I see The Miz taking some tack bumps in this match. The Miz landing in the thumbtacks. We're gonna buy on that. I give that the bell. Automatic buzz if he's the champion. Well, I gave it the bell. So we ended up with 2 bells and 1 buzz, which is not too bad. Could have been worse. It could have been worse. That'll be Cactus Jack for the win right there. All right, so Wednesday night, I mentioned Dynamite is a combined show. It is the go-home show to Full Gear. It will be 3 hours long. So the Dynamite stream will be a little bit later than usual. Tomorrow night, before that, I'll be on JD's channel for Tuesday Night Titans, as always. But no SmackDown review on Friday night. I will not be here. I will be in Chicago. Hopefully, I will see some of you in Chicago. We are sold out at Logan Square Auditorium. But if you got your tickets, I will see you there. It's going to be cold, though, isn't it? Yeah, Chicago this time of year is tough, but that's where I'll be. And then if you missed episode 938 of The Sound Off from yesterday, a lot of ground covered on that show. Please go back and check out the podcast. We were number 2 in the world on Apple Podcasts for all wrestling podcasts, number 2, behind Jim Cornette. Actually, I was sandwiched in between. He has 2 shows, right? He's got The Experience and he's got The Drive-Thru. I think The Experience was number 1. I was number 2. And I think the Drive-Thru maybe was number 3. In any event, I thank you for that. Be well. Stay safe. Have yourselves a great rest of your week. I will see you back here. I better see you back here on Wednesday for the Dynamite stream. And, of course, tomorrow for TNT. Until then, take care, guys.